Coming up, Democratic candidate for governor Andy Beshear says he has a plan to cut down corruption in state government. And school districts in Kentucky are now working to make their schools compliant after a new law that recently passed in the General Assembly. And as summer winds down, safety is on people's minds. Leslie County bus drivers gathered for their annual 8-hour training to make sure those minds are put at ease.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning. It is 5:30 on Wednesday, July the 31st. I'm Will Puckett. Thank you for tuning into Mountain News This Morning. Well, about 2 o'clock in the afternoon yesterday over in Cumberland, Brandon, it started to rain, lasted on or off for about 10 minutes. On this last day of July, are we going to see any other rain chances?
Oh, yeah. We're going to see those scattered chances continue, and it actually started to rain a little bit more after you left, I think, last night there over in Cumberland, 7, 8 o'clock, and even into maybe the 9 o'clock hour. But again, chances around again today as we see some fog this morning outside WYMT building in there pretty quickly. Here in Hazard, we're looking at limited visibility across most of the area. Anywhere you see a number that is less than 5, that means that it is dense fog, and that's beginning to spread out across the region. Last few hours, everything started to clear out a little bit, even the clouds, but we do have a few scattered showers around this morning into parts of several counties in the Big Sandy going into southern West Virginia. Temperatures anywhere between 61 in Wise to 68 in Jacksboro. A lot of low to mid 60s there across our region this morning. Our day planner takes us down just a little bit more there before we start to head back up and see some sunshine as we head through the morning into the afternoon. And 82 is your daytime high. I'll have the rest of that forecast coming up here in just a few minutes. Will?
All righty, Brandon, thank you. Well, despite that rain yesterday, the morale of black jewel miners protesting in Harlan County is still high. Cumberland is where a group of miners and their supporters are entering day 3 of protests, blocking a train filled with coal from leaving a mine owned by Revelation Energy. WYMT's Connor James is there now and joins us live this morning. Connor?
Will, we're continuing to see these miners literally stand their ground. They won't budge until they get what's owed to them. Now, as we're entering day 3, many of these men and women are exhausted. Most have had little sleep. Some tell me they haven't had any. Despite it all, they all are standing firm on their message of not leaving until getting paid. The train holding all the coal is still at a standstill. And while these people wait and see what comes next, they say the community out here has taken incredible care of them.
We've got enough pizzas to feed probably the whole city of Harlan, and there's still more coming. And it's wonderful to see how much our community really sees that what we're trying to do is right, and all we want to do is to get our money. I mean, that's it.
Now, Will, we really haven't heard anything from Black Jewel yet on really what comes next, what they're planning to do. They were supposed to be in court today. That's been moved to Saturday. Not really sure why on that front. Really, like we said, nothing from Black Jewel. But all these miners say, despite that, until they get answers or can get those checks, they won't be moving. Will?
All righty, Connor, thank you. We'll be back with you in a little bit. Now, community members continue to support the Black Jewel coal miners, like Connor had just said, and as they protest across those train tracks in Cumberland. Among the support from local businesses and community members, State Representative Adam Bowling stood on the tracks with the miners yesterday. Bowling said seeing the families and small children that are affected was heart-wrenching. He says one of the most frustrating things is that the coal traveling on those tracks would go to profit the company that is not paying the miners.
Talking with these miners, I understand their anger, their frustration, everything. I'm angry and I'm frustrated myself. You know, here you have a company that's going through bankruptcy, but they have between $100 and $500 million in assets.
Now, the miners told our reporters they do not know how long they expect to be on the tracks, but they will stay as long as they need to. Well, Kentucky Attorney General Andy Beshear sent out a statement yesterday about the issues these miners face. He said in part, "I fully support our miners. Black Jewel failed to pay them for weeks of hard work, and the way the company filed for bankruptcy prevents miners from accessing their 401ks, making it even harder for them to feed their families during this trying time." Meanwhile, the Democratic candidate for governor says he has a plan to cut down corruption in state government. Andy Beshear is proposing term limits and an update to the current lobbying limits for lawmakers in the Commonwealth. In an interview with our sister station, WKYT, Beshear says his plan also calls for limiting state representatives to 4 consecutive terms and 2 terms for state senators. He is also calling for a lifetime ban for lawmakers to become lobbyists.
There shouldn't be a revolving door from public service to private enrichment based on that public service.
Now, under current law, lawmakers now have to wait 2 years after leaving office before registering as legislative lobbyists, unless it's for a public agency. Well, school districts in Kentucky are now working to make their schools compliant after a new law that recently passed in the General Assembly. WYMT's Buddy Forbes spoke to Floyd County School Superintendent Danny Adkins, who says the district is working to get things in place for the first day of school.
When the school year begins, students in Kentucky will see a new addition to their schools.
The new initiative that's going into effect requires every school district to place "In God We Trust" in every school.
Signs are now placed in schools across the state in fulfillment of new legislation, which recently passed through the General Assembly.
They require that it be placed towards the front of the building, somewhere in the vicinity of the front office.
The national motto will soon be placed in Floyd County schools, where Superintendent Danny Adkins says it will not change anything.
They hold prayer services at the flagpole, which are student-led.
Adkins says the schools already allow students to practice their freedom of religion and says it's not a movement against anything, rather a fulfillment of law.
This has been a state requirement for us to place "In God We Trust." So it very well could even give the students a little more freedom.
Still, he thinks the transition will be smooth.
We don't see an issue at all in Floyd County. Actually, I think our community will embrace this.
He also says it will not be an expensive project.
We'll be in full compliance by the first day of school. We have our signage ordered. We're somewhere in the neighborhood of $20, $25 per school.
And says it will not change anything about the way the schools operate. In Floyd County, Buddy Forbes, WYMT Mountain News.
Now, the American Civil Liberties Union opposed the bill, saying the motto has the appearance of endorsing religion. They encourage parents or students who feel their rights are being violated to contact the organization. As summer winds down, many parents also are thinking of how to prepare for back to school. School officials across eastern Kentucky are doing the same. Yesterday at Mountain View Elementary, Leslie County bus drivers gathered for their annual 8-hour training. Drivers participate in instruction on how to handle different situations, such as loading and unloading children, a cone driving course, wheelchair safety policies, as well as what to do in case of a medical emergency.
Since we've done this, we actually bust our classes up. We do half a day driving, half a day in classroom instruction. And since we've done this, our accident rates has dropped. Last year we had 0.
Now, all bus drivers are required to complete the initial 40-hour course and the training each year before the school year begins. It is a race against the clock for one school system. Jenkins Independent School officials are working on a nearly $2 million school upgrade, trying to get the project ready for this school year. WYMT's Madison Pergram has this progress report.
It's a sound echoing through these school hallways. Though instead of kids walking and tardy bells ringing, it's the rumblings of something else.
We've got a lot of work going on.
Nearly $2 million of work with the goal to make the school safer.
I talked to the board and I said, we need to start looking into some ways to secure our facilities and make them more safe.
The measures come following recent school shootings across the country.
Unfortunately, it's a sign of the times. I wish we never had to worry about any kind of violence in our school buildings anywhere in America, but unfortunately that's the situation that we're in.
While school officials say it's an unfortunate situation, it allows the schools to make some needed upgrades along the way.
Not only make our schools safer, but also to update some of our different things, our locker rooms, our restrooms, windows, things like that.
Jenkins Independent Superintendent Mike Jenton says that's not all. They're also enhancing security measures by adding a second set of doors with an alarm system.
If a door is propped open, we'll know about it any time of day, 24 hours a day.
And creating more accessibility for all.
Not only do we need a new parking lot, but we needed to make it safer for ADA concerns.
Keeping focused on the purpose behind the project.
I want them to appreciate all the hard work and the things that have gone on for them. And I expect them to keep each other safe and to keep our schools facilities safe.
That's the one thing Jenton wants his students to remember when the school bells ring in August. In Letcher County, Madison Pergram, WYMT Mountain News.
Now, Superintendent Jenton says some construction will continue once school starts, but as of now, school is set to start on time. UK resident advisors, or RAs, will receive $900 worth of Visa gift cards, free laundry, and special events to make up for having a roommate. A record high enrollment in number of returning students has left 3,500 kids without a room assignment. University officials announced some RAs would be sharing rooms with incoming kids. An online petition signed by 4,000 people and counting outlines alternatives to sharing rooms. A group of RAs are concerned about a lack of privacy and said the compensation won't take away the burden placed on students. A small number of RAs have resigned. UK said all enrolled students who applied for housing will have a room by the end of this week. There is some positive news for former clients of Eric C. Kahn. The former attorney is currently serving a 27-year sentence in federal prison for defrauding the Social Security system out of more than $600 million. His former clients are stripped of their Social Security benefits. But after a meeting with Prestonsburg attorney Ned Pillersdorf, some find out they are one step closer to receiving their Social Security checks. Even though 500 people are still without benefits, 200 of those with cases in the Appeals Council should get a check in the mail sometime soon. Those who are receiving benefits are asked to make sure their mailing address is correctly documented with the Social Security Administration, as checks will be mailed instead. Now, attorneys are also warning former clients to be wary of scammers. We will have more on this story in our 6 o'clock hour right here on Mountain News this morning. And moving from here at home to the big screen, filmmakers say space is not off limits as the backdrop of a future Fast and Furious movie.
I tell you, that's one of those franchises that might be getting a little bit old. The end of July is here, and the forecast is about the same as it's been all month. Some sun, some showers. I'll break it all down for you in about 3 minutes.